All right. You've been doing this set for a long time. And you have to always strive to be better, okay? And you have to understand the gravity. It is the gravity of what's, it's a force that pulls you. There's two gravities, okay? There's the world and then there's God. They both pull you. They pull you apart. So there's a gravity to not want to do the correct form. And it's you and your discipline and your grit that's going to hold you through your own self accountable to the form. So that you don't just go through the motions, because that is the gravity, and that gravity wants you to do that. Your only weapon against it is your discipline and your grit. Don't think you have discipline or you have grit. It's not born unto us. You have to develop it. You have to struggle. So the chances are you're just going to go through the motions. Overwhelmingly, those are the chances. That's what's going to happen. But you have to give this fighting chance, okay? So we know the moves, do this, then do that. But now we have to make sure the technique is good, the form is good. What's our feet doing? Where's our line of gravity? What's our timing? What are our eyes doing? Then beyond that, is my mind fettered? Am I holding my breath? Is there tension in my body? Okay, so when we do the first move, Andrew, I didn't film you, but I did film you, Sean. You guys are both doing this. When the ski comes in, you're going to watch my feet camera. You're all over the place doing weird stuff with your feet, and you can't. Okay? So, you know your rear foot is at a 45-degree angle because you're in Hanmi. You can't leave it there. Because as you step back, you're going to have that torque. You're going to misalign the foot, knee, quad. You also know that he's going to be slightly to the left of me because I have to clear the line of the ski. Okay? So that means, one, I can't leave my rear foot angle at the Hanmi 45. Nor can it go straight, because straight is not going to be oriented at him. It's got to be slightly in on that to the line of attack. Do you got it? Okay, so now the question is, when does that happen? It happens in the angle of deviation. When I go to here, that's when I rotate. That foot is already in it, and this step just comes back. Do you see that? I don't want to go back and try to turn it with the strike. So if you look now what that's doing for you, here's his ski. Do you see this line right here? When I shift my weight, if I didn't rotate my foot, I'd still be on the line. I just created a little range, but I'm still on the line, okay? So what you do is on the shift is you've turned, and now you're off the line. And then this foot comes back. Just like Tenkan, Tai no Henko. The rotation happens, then the foot goes straight back. I do not rotate so that my line of gravity is in between my 2 feet, because I have no balance to the reactionary force, which is what's making you lose your balance with your feet, okay? So we'll do it embryonic. And he comes in. I shift and turn. Okay? Weapon comes around, and there's no foot movement after that on that front foot. Shift and turn. Weapon comes around, no foot movement on that lead foot. Drill, shoom, comes around, hits. Okay, so let's get rid of this wiggly foot, because my goal, stick your weapon out, it's the target. My goal was to end the fight right there, and I don't want energy leaking out on my feet. Okay, so let's try it. You're double weighting. So on the angle deviation, everything goes to the back foot, just like in the Kokyu drill set. Everything's on the back foot. And then you didn't pivot enough. You see your foot is straight. So now there's strain on the knee. So when you do the Kokyu drill set, okay, everything is on the back foot. Everything's on the back foot. This foot is irrelevant where it goes because I just keeping weight on the back foot. Okay? Might as well. Other arts, particularly your Chinese arts, they will root in this stance. So theoretically, it's supposed to go down to the mid feet, okay? Theoretically, because shape does not matter. So the fact that I'm on one leg, yes, that's midfoot vectoring on a single vector. Because shape doesn't matter, I can be on 2 feet and I'm still ground vectoring, okay? Theoretically. What I tend to see is that people will use the distance between the line of gravity and the vectoring and the ground vectoring plane and generate a bracing angle, which is why it'll look like this. So he's pushing and I'm here and he lets go. You'll see that I came forward. Do you see? So theoretically, it's supposed to be doable, but in practice, it's not doable, because everyone will do that. Everyone is trying to not be displaced, so they're going to use the engine that they are familiar with, and they're going to use the bracing angle. Okay. Secondarily, we never do that in fighting. We don't stand still. We're not going to stay on the line. And so we're never going to double weight. We never will. Their arts don't fight anymore. They've made a game out of Fajin, and you're not allowed to move your feet. So they root. Got the idea? But we will never root. What we will always do is find the single vector and use that vector, because we're going to stay dynamic and we're moving from stance to stance. In order to do that, you're going to move from single vector to single vector. Do you guys understand that? The only time where we have both ground vectors working is in drills 6 and 7, because it's a major fuck you to you and these Chinese systems, okay? Because I am going to learn how to ground vector with 2 feet, but it's been made impossible to brace. Do you see that? So we do have that skill, but it's now impossible to brace because there's nothing that you can stick behind the oncoming force, okay? But in the regular drill, you're on the single vector. This foot is just cosmetically in place. That's why I lift it all the time, okay? Doesn't matter which drill we do. If I do drill 2 or drill 3, I'm here, and then I push there. If I do it quicker, it's the same thing. Boom. It's the same exact thing. Doesn't change until we get to drill 6 and 7, where 2 feet, but no possibility of bracing angle. The takeaway there is the front foot in drills 2 through 5 is just cosmetically in place, okay? You're not supposed to have your line of gravity between your 2 feet. So here, in this angle of deviation, when he's coming in, I do move to this stance, but I'm not using it, and there's no point in leaving it there because now I'm not doing the Kokyu drill. So when I rotate my body out of the way, the foot came with me. Do you see? Because I'm going to be dynamic, and the foot goes right past like that. You don't want to double pivot, leave that foot there. Do you see? Because my line of gravity is somewhere in here. It needed to be over here. So I move that foot because I'm allowed to now in this technique. Okay? So when he skis, it's not that I leave it there. It moves with my quad. The foot moves with my quad. Do you see? I leave the foot-knee quad alignment in its integrity, and it moves with me. Do you understand? Okay. Otherwise, you're going to stay in your staccato self. You're going to go over here like this, and then you're trying to do that, and it's not going to work. I got to hit him when? When do I have to hit him? As he's hitting me, okay? So there's no way. So if you pay attention, every time you do it that other way, your guy's sitting out here, right? Jerking himself off. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, you should have hit him already. Okay? There's no other combat sport that would do that, but we see it all the time, okay? So let's go. One more time. Switch rolls. Okay. This is embryonic phase. In embryonic phase, you use you're going to take their ski, and it's going to give you the mai in terms of space, but not in terms of timing, okay? Because in weapons fighting, fist fighting, you either hit them when they're hitting you, or you've taken kazushi, or you're out, okay? So what you don't do is you don't take turns. So embryonic training appears to take turns because it's not the form. What it is I'm going to use their Joe to give me the vector, to give me the range, but not the timing. So the timing is false. And since timing is probably the more determinant, this is very fake shit, okay? When we get the vector, we want to use it to tell us how to move our weapon. But it's not telling us when to move our weapon. You have to understand that, okay? So when my angle of deflection comes up, it is a positional check, meaning I am not actually going to try to take him off the line of attack. This is the angle that I take on the weapon, using his vector as telling me where does that thing go in space and at what angle, okay? And the other connection I need is the target. So my weapon is going to do, using his weapon, it's going to do this, keep that contact for now, come around, take that same angle, and hit there. So if you pay attention, this is a pretty vertical thing. Do you see that? It's pretty vertical. I just keep that 45, it goes around, they replace, and that's where it hits. Same thing, okay? What would be different? I hit this 90, do you see? I hit a 90, and then it comes around, and I hit this flat circle. That would be different. The reason why you don't want that is you're going to have to do an angle change if you don't keep the 45. If your angle of deflection is not your same angle of attack, you're going to have to do an angle change in the Joe mid-flight. That's going to lose power because you're going to have to decelerate, and it's probably pretty freaking hard to do in the time that he's striking whiskey. Okay, so embryonically, when he comes in, that's the angle I want, and I just spin that around, and that's the angle that hits him. It's pretty freaking straight up and down. What I don't want is that angle, then I came around my head, do you see? And then I hit that there. I don't want that. It's almost, go ahead, it's almost like, wow, that's what I'm doing. Coming around, boom, straight down. Look over here. Don't move his weapon, contact with his weapon. Glide, straight down your head. All I need to do is turn my wrist. So there's Showman, but I turn my wrist, and I get the angle I need. Boom. Boom. There's no need to shift my way back and then come back in. I won't be fast enough. Again, stick your weapon out. Here's with no base and that same movement. On his head, it's going to work, okay? I don't need to go. That's too much time for not much more force, okay? So your weight already shifted here, and that's where it stays. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Okay, don't come back. Go. We'll go to application. Okay. Let's watch the ski in slow motion, okay? And the question is, when is he open to this flanking attack? It would be no different from I'm gonna hit him with the right hook, and he'd be in some boxing position, you see, and you want to know when is he open. It's very common that someone throws the jab and drops the jab on the way back in. Do you see that? It's extremely common. So I know that, I stay out of range, and I'm just looking for that kind of stuff. Maybe I bother him and get him to throw it, boom, bah, and that's when it's open. There's a place where it's open, okay? So we're going to look at the ski dynamics, and you're going to try to answer when it's open. Now, what is open? Well, if he's on the center line and the weapon is between me and him, if his weapon's on the center line and that weapon is between he and I, it's generally not considered open, okay? So we have to go, you wouldn't consider this open. It's easy to defend from here. It's easy to attack as I attacked with that, okay? So we're going to go, we're watching. Where do you think? Go again. Right there, right here at the bottom of this, coming forward. Right there. That's open. Okay? Look where the weapon is pointed. It's pointed down, and it's going to be preoccupied here. Okay? So, when we do this technique, I'm giving him a little more dynamic. He does the ski. That's where I have to hit him. Okay? This is not the footwork, but that is the spirit of it. Okay? So, to do this at the application phase, he doesn't actually get to complete the ski. He realizes, fuck, that thing is coming in. Okay? When you do the embryonic phase, in other words, I'm the ski, I get to go like this and wait, and then I go here to another embryonic phase, okay? But if he gives the initial opening that I try to attack on, okay, we'll go slow, he's going, and he hits me here, I go the fuck out of there. There's no ski that's going to come. Do you understand? I'm pulling out of that attack. So what I'm going to do now for this drill to train the application phase of this move is I kind of do a half-ass ski and then give him the target that he's been giving me. Do you understand? And then he can practice it. So do not go full ski because you won't be able to give him that target without your head out of the way. And then secondarily, you don't do that in the technique at the application level. You felt, dude's flanking me, you pull out of the ski. Do you understand that? Okay, so we're going to just work his attack. I get to work the timing of the application phase for the makiatoshi, but I don't actually do makiatoshi. I give him a target. Okay, so we'll go slow at first. Home, boom. Okay? All right, let's try it. You want to hit as fast as you can, Virginia. Don't look at the target. No, keep going. She did 4, you do 4. I don't know what system you guys are doing. It's weird as hell. You don't touch her weapon. You don't try to touch her weapon. Do you guys understand? You're watching her head move into range. That's all your timing, just like the right hook. Okay? You're not blocking. Why would I block? Okay, go. Better. 2 more. Okay, now switch roles, you two. And I want you to lean back like you were, Virginia, okay? You see how much slower it is. Switch roles, Sean. I don't think it only takes 1 to realize. You're gonna go. You don't even want to do it. You're gonna lean back. You're gonna lean back like you were. You can see how it's just not right, okay? Okay, so then if, like I said, that's not a block, okay? Clearly, we don't block in Aikido. It's just a vector that I can angle the proper angle of attack in the end, okay? But why that angle, okay? So when it gets from here to there, that's your angle of attack. But this initial angle, when it comes down, this is, Parker had a weird name for it. It was like so obvious. I'd like to change the word, but you have a defensive offensive angle. Okay, so it is shielding me, do you see, as I start my whole thing. And so the entire time that it's coming around until he is exposed, that's when I can expose my body and hit the attack, okay? So that's why, for example, in some lunacy, I wouldn't go here, because immediately my body gets uncovered and then hits, okay? So what I'll do is, I know I need that angle, I can keep my body here until he's completely, deep into the opening that I'm going to take advantage of, okay? So that's what we're doing there. All right, let's go to the next part, and we'll go back to the embryonic training, okay? So I ski, he gives the opening, I ski, he uses my vector, he's using my space, the range of the mai, not the timing of the mai, and now I repeat that same exact process. Okay, so I have to move up the circle and on alignment with him, and due to zone of sanctuary theory, that's going to put me in the corners of the square. As I use a circle, I'll be in the corners of the square. I'm outside the radius of his hands, but his outside of his Joe. But his hands, my target, is inside my radius. Okay. So again, he goes, boom. There it is. Cool. I move up the circle. A line on his spine, that'll put you just out, okay? My Joe work is doing that exact same thing, the defensive offensive angle, okay? So I ski, and I'm going to adopt it as I do all that. I'll shield my whole body as I move to here, okay? Again, I'll use this as a vector on what I have to do, but I'm not blocking him, okay? And here the vector is the same thing in terms of it is that 45 circle, but it's going to go on the other side, over this way, and drop down this way. So I ski, boom, boom. There's where I use that cross. That's what rotates around my movement and down. Boom. Boom. My foot is facing his spine. I don't bend like this. I'm not like this. My weight is over the power hand. Okay, let's get there. Try it. Keep going. Virginia, what did you notice and what's he doing? What's your teacher going to say?
Sean isn't taking a vertical plane, he's pushing the Joe over.
Yes, okay, good for you, okay? So his weapon is up, okay? And then his strike would have been there, but he's going to move it for me for the embryonic training, okay? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to rotate the cross, just like on the first technique, although I didn't make contact in the application phase. But I am rotating the cross because as you move from controlled environments to application environments, you're going to move from static and staccato to dynamic and fluid. And things don't have to be touching for the principles to remain true, okay? So the defensive offensive angle is viable at both levels, okay? And meaning I don't have to touch and it'll still defend me, okay? And keep myself a little more covered as we're going. So the same thing here. When I come around here and I rotate the cross, that's the training that I want out of the embryonic level, is I rotating the cross like this. I don't want to move down his weapon and move it over to the side as I'm rotating. This spot rotates around itself. That's what I'm doing. And then it just drops down the line. That's all it's doing, okay? Not moving him, coming over here. There's a few reasons for that. One, he's my target, not his weapon. You always fight the archer, not the arrow. Two, I'm not actually going to do any block or anything like that in the application phase. And if I move horizontally, you're going to lose the defensive part of your offensive defensive angle. And you're vulnerable now to that strike getting through, okay? And three, I still have a target to hit, and his target, yes, the hands, but it is his center. And if you look at this, if my pressure entirely misses the hands because I rotated it over, then there's no way I'm going to touch his center. I'm just touching the stick and then his shoulders, okay? But also look at this. If I come around, I get this much angle, but I lose this angle here, and you're more like this. You again are just pushing the hands down and then pulling the skin suit to get the shoulders to go. The hand, for me to hit his center, there has to be a tip higher than the back end, so I get this angle. So it's hitting at that angle, okay? So now watch in the one where I attack his Joe, and you're gonna see that the tip drops way too early. I'm moving down and go back where we are, and you can see the height of the distal end to the proximal end is not great enough for me to get any kind of decent angle. Even if I was to hit his hands, it's going to pull there, okay? So when we do it embryonically, I try to get this to be as high as I can, do you see? And then that's what's going into this part, and you can see that angle is hitting there, okay? The slower you go, he does have to watch out for what's happening on my head, okay? But again, remember, the embryonic phase is all fake, okay? That's not what we're going to do in real life, okay? So when he's here, just like here was his target, and then he moved over, that is a total prescription of embryonic training. It's not real fighting, okay? The same thing when I'm doing this embryonically, his Joe could just come down. Do you see that? Because I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which is don't try to block him, don't try to attack his weapon. So he keeps his center in that in that hand is I doing this stuff, okay? The uke who doesn't and goes dead, I'll give them a little love tap, boom, and they know, yeah, that I don't actually keep it there in real life, okay? So that allows me to work on what I want to work on, boom. And I'll slow it down and you can, but I think you guys can see, I'm picking it up enough speed so there's enough displacement energy because two things can't occupy the same space. That's what makes his weapon go over here slowly, not me moving it over there, okay? So I have enough energy for displacement, but I think you can still see that my Joe tip is quite higher than the part I'm holding at where it would have hit the hands, okay? So that's what you're looking for. All I do to finish the technique is pass through to parallel down to the ground, okay? But you could see it's pretty high up. That's me rotating the cross, okay? All right, try it. So the next concept, which repeats itself several times throughout the form, is that I will check him in order to ski him. And the reason for this is that ski, due to the nature of this weapon, is going to be more piercing than displacing, and you can lose a lot of energy as his body wraps around the ski. Okay, so meaning if I poke him here, there's a hinge there. His head comes forward, his glutes go back, and you lose a lot of energy that's coming into the technique. Again, throughout other arts, they do a lot of what we call backup mass, okay? Or I use some opposing forces. Aikido does it a lot too. Meaning, if I'm going to hit him with something, if I can get another force to press back against my angle of attack, I will generate more force at impact, okay? So the one that we're doing here is when you attack his center. We don't need the Joe, okay? Just drop it and have your hands, both hands here. So when you hit here and it goes into his center, there's an inertia that's pressing and pinning his feet temporarily, okay? So Chris will be that force on his shoulders, like, okay? You're just pushing down. You got that idea? Okay. And now, so if you take those off for now, and I hit this, right? You can see that immediately the weight goes to your heels and energy's coming off. But now, when he pushes down on that, you feel that it even gets harder for me to do because force is increasing at that impact point. Okay. All right. So the rhythm here is. He'd have his hands out, okay? The rhythm here is hit, boom, ski, okay? Very much like the quarter beat that we were doing in the knife technique, okay? So the way to do that is when you are the attacker, you're going to drop your weight. All your yang aspect is hitting the ground, boom! And that rebounding force that we use to project, I'm going to use to send the front foot out, okay? That's what I'm doing here. I personally don't think it has to be done fast because I can tell if you're using the rebounding force to project that foot out or if you're just taking a whole new step with it, because that would be too slow. That guy's not going to be there, okay? So I don't have to do it fast. and to get the rebounding energy. Boom. Okay, that's what I'm doing. Okay, again, the ski architecture, that's beginner stuff, but this rebounding, understanding the concept, that's where you need to get to. So you know how to ski. You know the target. Okay, here we go. Yes. Yes. Go again, Virginia. A little more. A little more. So the difference here is if I don't kokyu myself, then I have to wait for my weight to come off. Got it? That's what you're doing. Taylor, you were using the rebounding energy. It's probably a difference of half a second, but that's enough. I only have that temporary check to hold his feet still, okay? And you will get more, you'll get more rebounding energy the more you check his center. The more you check his center, the longer you have to do it. Okay, so it's not in your interest to do a half-ass otoshi and then try to move your feet really fast, okay? That doesn't work. It just is not martial. You do a full-on, boom, there's his center, boom, I pressed it down. That's the energy I now use to rebound my front foot, okay? Go.